Oh, we're starting? We're starting?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I'm
we're
sorry.
right down.
Okay,
We're
okay, okay. Oh my god. Okay.
live.
Holy.
What's
Surprise!
Hello.
up? Hey, girl. Welcome to the Old Moon Podcast, episode 28. We are rolling right along here. I am your host, Blue Squadron, joined as always by Jay Kun.
Hi, I'm Jay Kun. V before the T. I'm an awakening whistlewave and 760 gear score. I do a lot of endgame PvE content such as Olins, dungeons, and I'm currently sick, I guess, because I was sneezing a bunch earlier. So maybe I'm sick now. I don't know. Maybe it's the vid. I don't know. But welcome to the Old Moon Napcast, episode 28.
That all escalated very fast.
It did. It did. Old Moon Napcast. That's Jay's tired, bro. Tiltus and I came in here. We were all gassed up, ready to go. Did all this work. Jay came in here. He's like, I'm dying, guys. I'm dying.
You guys
Today.
are being gaslighted. You guys are being gaslighted.
It's 2 versus 1, bitch. All right, Tiltus, welcome back.
Hello, I am Tiltus TV. I am a Dark Knight main. I play a lot of Dark Souls, and I do armored MMA. Thus, the beautiful helmet behind me. Yeah, and this is the Old Moon Podcast.
Right on. Okay,
Yes.
yo. But yeah, we have a decent amount of topics to go over today. Ulukita 2 actually just came out, or like the second half of the expansion just came out on Korea, but we didn't get it. Screw us, right? You know what I mean? As usual. So Jay, you're a resident PvE lord. I started watching a couple streams last night to kind of peep a little bit in on the prices and see what stuff looked like. But I'm sure you have a little bit more of the inside scoop. What's it look like?
Yeah, so it's not the complete part of it. I asked some Korean streams, mainly my friend Hugh Hotbar, and he is another Korean streamer.
Oh, that's that guy I rated last night.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
love you.
yeah. That's,
Yeah.
yeah, we love you. Yeah.
Hey, he's just
So he
carried.
was telling me how there's supposed to be one more grind spot that we're gonna get. This is not like it yet, but currently the prices of the materials and the flames and the embers and the new Kavwa's relics are out, and they look pretty pricey. The surprising part about the flame this time is that the embers can be placed on the market this time. So you remember how like the Flame of Despair embers and the Frost embers and the embers of Hongik, all of them cannot be placed in the market, but this time the embers can be. They are quite low drop rate this time. It's about expected 1 to 2 per hour. So if you were to not get a flame at all, you can expect maybe like 60-70 hours of grinding in the new grind spot in Ulukita to get it. Yeah, they also emphasized in the notes that this was going to be a harder piece to get. If you're wondering about the flame this time, currently from the last time I checked, when I was asking Hugh, he said it's about 5 bill and expected to be 10 bill max. We don't know the actual max yet. Maybe somebody in chat knows, but people are expecting maybe around 10 bill max. Same thing for the Kavwa's relic. I don't know if you guys saw the stats on it, but it's absolutely insane. Giving 7 monster AP, 20 monster DR, 100 HP, 75 stamina for 1 relic, and so you can wear 2.
They're calling it a relic. It's an artifact, right?
Yes. Yes, it's an artifact. But it's
probably translation.
The translated name is called Kavwa's relic, and so that's what I'm going to call it. But it is an artifact for the artifact slot, and so you will be able to insert your light stones into it.
What are the stats on it again?
Pardon?
Say it again. Can you give me
A 7 monster AP, 20 monster DR, 100 HP, and 75 stamina each. So you can wear 2 of them. So it's a total of 14 monster AP, 40 monster DR. 200 HP and 150 stamina. That's a massive.
7% monster AP, or I mean monster DR?
No. 7 monster AP, 20 monster DR flat. If it wasn't clear, yeah, it's.
Why would they go in that direction with artifacts? That doesn't make any sense. What's the angle here, bro?
Yeah, I'm definitely an interesting choice as like the next. It kind of makes all the other artifacts useless, other than the accuracy ones. I think those are the ones. Those are the only ones that are gonna stay as like another niche artifact to use. But as it stands, like for PvE in both offensive and defensive wise, it's gonna be BIS. And some people told me it's even still BIS for like capped node wars and stuff because of the HP. And
That's what I was
I
gonna
believe
say.
Monster
What is the
DR
HP on the HP artifacts?
It's 75. I think is it 75?
Oh,
or
hold on.
100?
I'm
I
literally
can't remember.
checking right now. Hold up. Let me just peep this.
Because you add HP and stamina to artifact,
Yeah.
and like I'm gonna run around with
It's
that.
75 HP per artifact.
75, yeah.
So,
So
like,
this one has 25 more. So
what?
That's nuts.
What is the thought? Like, what's the thought process here? Like, the whole thing that made artifacts super interesting was the fact that they were super diversified. And when they came out, they forced everyone to go grind you all these old spots, and you had to like pick up the ones that you needed and like assemble the set that you wanted. And like some artifacts were good for some classes, and then other people wanted like niche stuff for their build for other things. And now, like, okay, well now like, well, those are all irrelevant now. This is just the best artifact in the game. Like, what?
What's the monster AP on the monster AP artifacts?
I think it's 6.
6. I was thinking 5.
Pretty sure it's 6 on the original monster
It's
AP
6.
artifact.
Yeah, I see it right here. It's 6.
Yeah. So
That's
it's more than that. Yeah.
It's interesting that they make this one marketplace too.
So you can
Yeah,
buy it.
you
Wait,
can
okay. So how much money
You
is
can
it?
buy it on the market.
Yeah.
Right now, Hugh said it was about 5 bill, but it's climbing up, and people are expecting about 10 bill max. But we don't know for sure.
And you need 2 of
Maybe
them.
somebody in chat knows. And yeah, you would want to add 2 of them. Yeah.
I just like, I don't understand the purpose. Maybe like I would introduce maybe improved artifacts or like ways to upgrade our artifacts, but like, dude, just going down to one artifact. Okay, well then my entire I'm glad I didn't purchase any of that artifact expansion slot, bro. It was actually a bait. They came out with it last week. Everyone dropped all their money, and then they release this week. They actually released this brand new artifact that's just the best in the game, no matter what. Just dumpster all your other artifacts.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
definitely.
only thing I can see being like that what you would not wear this for is if you were like a evasion build perhaps, or like or you need the accuracy. But yeah, this is just all around the board, I think, best. Even for PvP, I feel like the endurance and HP just like
Yeah.
I ran HP artifacts on my Vault for a long time on Captain Node Wars, so yeah, that's a little odd.
It's just such a strange direction to go in after they very clearly went one way and it was extremely successful, and now we're just category like there is no end game build choice anymore. It's okay, you got to build the Black Star armors. Okay, you got to have these artifacts. Okay, you got to run Hooms. You know, like it's a little ridiculous. That's obnoxious. But how about the new grind spot, Jay?
The new grind, it doesn't seem very mechanically difficult. Just stay behind the mob, just like avoid this big frontal attack, and it seems like it's very easy from what I was watching from Hugh's stream when he was grinding the new spot. The new spot is called the translated name is Dark Follower's Bedroom, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be like lair or chamber or something like that, or like an area.
So I call my bedroom.
Dark Follower's Bedroom. But yeah, it doesn't seem to have any too difficult mechanics. I mean, that's what they said initially when they were talking about Ulukita on release, was all the grind spots are just, they're not going to be too difficult for players to do mechanics wise. It's just going to be a simple grind. It is set to 310 AP 420 DP, so it's like the highest AP DP requirement recommended according to them, but I think that because the mechanics are very simple, it won't be as hard as people think, at least from what I saw, but we'll see. Kind
of similar to the other spots.
Yeah. But again, we are supposed to get one more grind spot in accordance to what they were mentioning, and so I'm hoping it's a party grind spot, the last grind spot. I mean, biased answer, but we'll see and we'll hope. They are coming out with another quest line this time. Before there wasn't a quest line. This time there is a quest line, which, you know, when we got Ulukita, there was no quest line, and so it came out really fast. Right, we got it like 1 to 2 weeks after.
I'm just putting it out there.
Hopefully it doesn't delay it any longer due to, I don't know, translations and stuff.
So Jay, I have a question for you. Is Ulukita a step backwards for PvE, do you think?
A step backwards for PvE.
As far as like
Um,
enjoyment and like mechanics and things like that, like do you think that having a high-end spot like this with very little mechanics, just kill mob, is a step backwards, or do you like kind of the brainless grind?
Oh, that's a good question. When when Aukman and Hystra first, I wasn't there when Aukman and Hystra first released, but when I was grinding Aukman and Hystra, it was kind of like the same thing. There was not too much mechanics involved, and so in a way, you could say they're stepping back. They're going back to that sort of, hey, this is that end game grind spot, like Aukman and Hystra were the end game grind spots from back then, and there wasn't very mechanically difficult. And same thing here, and so. Yeah, it is in a way. It's a step backwards in that way, but at the same time, I really enjoyed the grind. It was like relaxing, so I didn't mind that it was simple in that way because there are other grind spots that that do require more fidelity in terms of mechanics, like Olin's Valley. Like that's still a spot that I really love grinding, and so.
And Olin's Valley's got to be more money, right? Especially if you're lanterning.
Not actually. You're making less money when you're lanterning. Filters, if you didn't know, you're making because the
Jay put on his glass. Actually, yeah.
The main focus of Decius Olens is for the Deboraka earring. So if you do get a Deboraka earring, instantly that's 800 mil if you were to sell it.
You're trading.
You're most likely using it to upgrade it into a Pen Deboraka earring, and so. If you wanted to know the average silver, I think it was around 400, 500 mil. It was the average silver. They did buff it recently. And so I think it's gone up just a little bit in terms of like raw silver per hour. But if you do want more money, they actually buff the heck out of regular Olens, and people were making like 1.5 bill or something like that.
Okay.
From regular Olens, and so that would be the way to go if you wanted to make money at Olens Valley and still grind for like ring piece or your Arzak.
That version of Olens is going to be way more money than Ulakita, right?
That version of yeah. Right now, I believe Hugh also put out another video doing I don't know if he posted a video yet, but he showed his stats for 1 hour in the new grind spot. It was like 400, 500 mil an hour if you didn't get any raw drops.
Okay.
But again, it seems like the theme of Ulakita is similar to the theme of Star's End, where it's like this grind spot where occasionally you make a lot of money per hour, and sometimes you don't. So
I think I'm okay with that in the grand scheme of things.
I don't think it was really a step backwards for PvE, but I think it was just a flat line. I think that as many people have alluded to in chat, it's like people like just like the mindless, okay, we're going to go in circles. And we haven't really gotten that in a long time. So I think it's just kind of a throwback to some of their older players that maybe like that content. And they just wanted to kind of pump it out as quickly as possible, but it didn't really deserve its own expansion, because if they tried to release something like this with a new expansion, we would call it dog shit. So we absolutely would. So like I think they kind of pumped it out as their own thing. It's not really, I don't think they're really trying to like do anything crazy with PvE or anything. It's just kind of a nod to what they used to do with PvE. They haven't done it in a while, and maybe they're playing a little bit to their veteran base, a lot like War of the Roses in that regard. But like stepping forward, what do we want to see like beyond Ulakita here, as far as, and don't just tell me party grind spots. Give me specifics, Jay. Give me specifics. What do we want to see in our PvE, in our open world PvE content? Jay, I'll start with you since you're the PvE guy.
Open world PvE content. I mean,
well, I mean, just like, you know,
I was gonna say raids, but I guess that's not really open world.
Well, I guess
that's what I would love
not open
to
world,
see
not
in
open
PvE.
world
That's
raids.
that's like my dream, is to have like a raid content in BDO. I've always loved,
we do have a dungeon.
Like grouping as we do have a dungeon, but we haven't got another one since actually the last one that came out was in November of last year, so we're coming up on a year since the last dungeon. Yes.
God, I hadn't even noticed because I never
in November of last year.
Crazy.
I know exactly what I want from open world PvE.
Hit me, baby.
I want a good ass world boss.
As long as we're reaching, I want Santa to be real. Like there's no shot.
I mean, I'm not wrong, right? Like that would be huge if we got a good world boss.
Dude, there ain't like Okay, go ahead. Let him
I
cook.
was
Let
gonna
him
say
cook. Let him cook.
I miss the days of like doing like Guild Wars 2 world bosses where it's like this massive world boss and it require, or even in BDO, I miss the days of like doing like Merca, or yeah, it was Merca, and what's the other one that nobody does?
Quint.
Quint, yeah, like Merca and Quint, where you have to like bring cannons and like do that kind of stuff. Like that, those were cool world bosses if you did them when everybody was trying to get their ogre rings. Like that was interesting, and I would like something kind of like that. That's not as punishing as Garmoth was, where you like Garmoth was the Crystal Destroyer when Garmoth released. But something that's actually enjoyable, has got some kind of mechanics and isn't just like a Nuver or like Zarka or Karanda or something like that.
Well, so the problem with this is that world bosses inevitably in every MMO all become the same thing. You start off with these great mechanics and it's like this loot that everybody wants to do and everybody likes them, and then after a while everyone gets too much damage and they're just loot pinatas, and we all just look at the camera like, mechanics? It's not like it just doesn't work anymore. And so the problem is if they introduce a new world boss, so they have to make the world boss like doable for a new player, right? So a new player has to be, but like also the only way to make it challenging is to make it hard enough that only end game players can really do it. So like if you introduce a world boss that only the top 1% of players can do, it's just not going to work. And if you don't introduce it so that only the top 1% can do it, it's just a loot pinata. Like sadly, like world bosses just don't work in this. The best version of world bosses, in my opinion, are the field bosses. Like unironically, like I think that people actually enjoy going on like the trains.
Yeah, they've made the trains a lot more intuitive. It's a lot easier, a lot more straightforward, because they all spawn in a chain now. So if Beg spawns, Red Nose will spawn 2 minutes after, and then Dimtree will spawn 2 minutes after. And if you're in the boss Discord, it's generally fairly organized in a way that people will just instinctively know, oh, here we should go to this one, we should go to that one. People in general chat will actually tell you guys, hey, let's go to this server next, and stuff like that.
That's the nice thing about going and doing like roars like that too, where it's like you show up, it's this server first, and then you hop to all the servers afterwards. I miss the nostalgia of having like a really like interesting world boss that's like fun to kill, but also that you're not sweating your crystals for. I think crystals shouldn't be destroyed at world bosses. I think it's kind of silly, but
crystal destruction should basically just be removed at this point.
Yeah,
there's just better ways to do it. You know what I mean? But like, all right. Okay, go ahead, Jay.
I wanted to touch on the, receiving the final piece of the Slumbering Origin armor, as well as like what's next for us, because we do now finally have full access to the all 4 pieces. I was a little bit surprised about what the 4-piece was. It was a little boring. If you guys don't know what the 4-piece set was for the Slumbering Origin armor is, it's 150 HP, 150 stamina, which is, it's good, but it's a little boring. I thought, I had hope in me that it would be a little bit more interesting, because the name Slumbering Origin armor just sounds really, really cool. So it would have been really cool to have some sort of
it's slumbering, all right, bro.
Yeah, to match its like godlike power or something. Like I thought it was gonna have something to do with like BSR and stuff, like maybe more BSR capacity, BSR recovery or something like that. But as everyone expected, maybe people
power creep,
were
baby.
thinking maybe Slumbering Origin weapons would be the next step, but I actually had a much more in-depth idea of how they could implement it. I don't know if they will do it this way, but I think it would be really cool. So when I played World of Warcraft, I played it for about a year. It was during the Legion expansion, and they had this really cool quest line specifically for your class. I played a priest class, and so you would go on this big quest to acquire this sort of legendary piece of equipment specific to your class. And I think it would be really cool in BDO if it had something similar. So let's say maybe I'm a witch, and I'm also, you could discover this legendary staff related to witch's lore and have her go on some sort of like pilgrimage and journey to acquire it. And that would be a way to get the next step into weapon progression and growth for your character. It would probably be a lot of work to implement the content for all 26 classes, but I think it would be a really cool experience for players.
Okay.
And then another Go ahead.
Let me just peep this for 1 second.
Yeah.
What if every class had a quest line for the end game, their version of the end game boss weapon? Wait a minute. That already exists. Jay, you just described the Black Star.
The Black.
You literally just described every class. You know, your character can only do it once. You forge it you literally just described. Man, what if there was this quest? I'm thinking, wait, he's memeing me right now.
Generic.
He's memeing me right now.
So.
It's very generic. Oh, sweet Jay. If they come out with something that requires us to do a quest to follow up on our class's lore, do you have any idea what that means? The entire player base is going to log in with the R key depressed already. Preemptively, the R key is already in. Okay, when they log in, the problem is there is no character lore. That's the problem. I don't think that they can realistically do that. Is the biggest thing. They have a bunch of lore. None of us have any idea what it is. Their main storyline is discongruent and
class lore.
Shut up,
There's
Jay.
Wusa lore.
Shut up, Jay. There is only hitting R. Okay, if it is not, here's my opinion on lore, and it might be a hot take, but if it is not interesting enough that it actually engages me enough to watch it or figure out what's going on, it doesn't really count as lore. Otherwise, it's just blocks of text.
It is true that a lot of players just brush it aside because they want to get to the power right away. But I really think BDO has really cool arts. Not the most. So how do I word it?
Engaging,
digestible,
good. Yeah. If it's not digestible, it's simply just not good. Is the problem. So I think that if they went back and so if they did this, Jay, I think it is doable, but they'd have to go back and basically retcon, just wipe out your character's lore previous. Just be okay, this is just kidding, right? And now you're gonna redo your character's lore quest line, and they're all new and reworked, and now we have a purpose. We know where our character came from, why they're here, what their class, what your class purpose is, who's your rival classes are, right? It'd be cool if the witch spawned in and they were we hate rangers. I just chose a class at random, and archers. Rangers and archers specifically, fuck those people. And then you knew going around there ugh, ranger, and then maybe your class would do something if it was interacting near a ranger. So nothing crazy, but it would wag its finger or something, or I don't know, something crazy like that. That is engaging lore. They'd have to literally go through, wipe all the characters' lore from before, and give us a new quest line that was actually good, better than the Megu Wusa. Megu Wusa was good. It would need to be better than that. And for every single class in the game, I don't think they're actually capable of doing it. But if they did do all of that, then they could, I think, give us that sort of weapon that you were thinking of, that very specialized weapon for your class. I don't know, Tiltus, do you think it's possible?
I think the better version of that would probably be to just give us some kind of skin specific to the class and let us keep our black stars. A lot of people have invested a lot of time into Black Stars, Goddard, all that kind of stuff. It would be more unique, I think, if they just gave us a skin for it. It was hey, do this optional quest. You can do it if you want. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. I enjoyed the Dark Knight quest for a while. I kept in touch with it for quite a bit.
That's because you're staring at your character. I was a Dark Knight for a long time too.
Well, no, I mean,
loved her.
The Succession quest with Vadir and stuff like that. The Shadow of Vadir is kind of interesting, and
because they look really cool. Yeah.
Well, there's also the betrayal of Kama, and you have the the teaser for Odalita, and there was some cool lore drops in that. I remember doing that quest, and it was enjoyable. But I think if they wanted to make character quests actually enjoyable, they would need to like completely just retcon everything and just start over from scratch and voice act it all out properly and that kind of stuff. And that we're never going to get that. Nor do I trust them to make it good.
I don't know if we're never going to get it. I think that they might rework Succession and Awakening quests altogether and then like actually give your class a purpose and then maybe give this Jay's new idea here. I think that might work. You know what I mean? as far as okay, so I did want to touch on before we dive too deep into that. I did want to touch on. Do you guys feel that this last piece of armor is like too difficult? It's like definitely like, are you guys gonna grind for it, or are you just gonna buy it? And really, I'm asking. I know that Jay, you're gonna.
Yeah,
you're gonna grind for it. Yeah, you're gonna shut up. Tiltus, when you get this in 2026, are you gonna buy it or are you gonna grind for it?
I'm buying it.
Yeah, I'm buying it. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna buy it too.
I've bought all my embers except for the gloves. So, and the only reason I did the gloves was because the boss blitz was enjoyable to do. So,
yeah,
just
I think
out 5 of them, and
I mean that means because I'm thinking about just buying it too. And I think that means the spot's going to be super relevant. I think it's going to be cash money to grind that spot. Maybe I just do go out and grind it because it's, I don't know, like it's a super chill spot from what I understand, right? And which is like, wait, like, my understanding is it's really chill and you just have to kill the mobs, right? There's no mechanics. Yeah, so I can just put the red orb down and just get behind them and use my frontal guards. Like, this is like the easiest thing ever.
You just stay behind from what I saw. Yeah,
that's why we love Witch. That's why we love Witch. So like, do you feel like it's too hard, Jay, to get this thing, or do you think they kind of nailed it, or like, is it too gated? Is it too expensive?
I think in terms of like Dawn's Glove was super easy to get, and so I think because it was super easy to get, they wanted this next one to be harder to, like, I don't know, to balance it out, I guess. Which I don't mind it being, balanced out in that way. I mean, it is the best installed armor piece in the game, and so at the very least, one of the pieces. I mean, nowadays, like the chest and the helmet are really easy to get, right? They're not from very hard grind spots. It's from Tunkata Forest, which is a 270 AP spot, and then Flame of Frost is from a 280 spot, Jade Starlight Forest, and Dawn's Glove. They just literally give it to you, in terms of like the embers and stuff, and. This time they're actually going a lot more strict with getting it, so I don't mind that. I personally don't mind that, but it is a bias sensor because I am in the bracket of players able to grind it fairly efficiently, and so
as someone who is able to get it.
Hey, here's the thing. Here's the thing. If you're at the point where Ator Shoes is your next upgrade, you should be at the point where you can grind it, right? Because you before that you should be going for your chest, your helmet, and your gloves first before you go for the boots, and then by the time you do have the chest, gloves, and chest, helmet, and boots, then you should have enough gear for it anyways. So it makes sense to me in my head in that fashion. So
I think my only complaint about the shoes being as difficult to get as they are is that I feel like the 4-piece set bonus should have been way cooler than HP and stamina.
My complaint about the boots is that it looks a little ugly.
The boots are ugly. We haven't even talked about cosmetic.
Wait, really? Wait, they're ugly?
Oh yeah, look at the link. I put a link of what it looks like, and it's literally like rock shoes, and I'm just like,
I think they may actually be worse than Urgon's, which is saying something.
Yeah, I like the way Urgon looks way better than I'll put it up on stream here for everybody, but this is what it looks like. It's I mean, if you guys don't know who Ator is this big giant construct ancient weapon, and that's kind of like what they were trying to go for with this aesthetic.
Wait,
well, they nailed the aesthetic, but that doesn't
wait
look
a minute.
good.
They're actually like rocks, dude. What? Like, hey man, they provide great arch support.
At least with the Dawn's Glove, looked really good. I like the aesthetic.
Yeah, the Dawn's Gloves do look nice.
But what was really weird was the chest and the helmet are identical models
Correct.
to the Black Star
Yes.
variant. So if anything, I would have loved if Labreska helmet was actually like a dragon's head helmet, because that would match what they were trying to go for with Dawn's Glove and Ator Shoes, was matching their own lore aesthetic. But the chest and the helmet just look like Black Star models, which is I mean, for the most part, people are gonna just use their premium outfits to cover it up, but I think it would be really cool if they went back to redo the chest and the helmet to maybe players can have more customizability in that way. Because I know some players, I can't remember who it was. It was like a ninja player. I think was it Yellow. It was one of the ninja players who said that they loved the Dim Tree outfit.
Oh, that was block jump, bro. BJ He's literally like he's in the partner chat. He's like, I have a serious request. Like pings all the CMs. He's like, we need to be able to wear the Dim Tree outfit is a Pearl Shop outfit. And we all just looked at him like, Block, dude, that outfit sucks. He's like, it's nostalgic. I'm like, it's garbage. You look like a bushwickie, man. Like it looks like crap.
That's what he wanted to go for.
He put it on the forums, and it only got 30 upvotes. And like he pinged partner chat again. He's like, look how many upvotes it got. And I was like, Block, dude, nobody wants this.
But hey, I think a lot of people would like a dragon helmet, you know, for Libresso.
Yeah, no, dragon. I don't know. I don't know what they do with cosmetics. I really feel like they just drop the ball with the game in-game cosmetics.
They should have, you know, so you know how like the gloves and the boots have a unique aesthetic. Maybe we could, as players, we can maybe like have some sort of like grind where we can convert the Dawn's the gloves, chest, and helmet to match Ator's shoes, and then. Same thing with Dawn's gloves. We could maybe grind for something that converts the boots, helmet, and chest to match the aesthetic of Dawn's gloves. And so it could be that complete set, and it could be another costume that people can grind for in game. You know?
Yeah, we've talked about that once
Screw
before.
all
That
of
is
that.
the best idea ever.
Screw all of that.
Nah,
Just give
I want
us
a full set.
Let us just grind for like the specialized outfits. But like we don't really necessarily want like the honestly, yeah, sure, you can give us a full Ator set if Jay literally wants to fall in love and do like unspeakable actions to golems. That is his
the ancient
prerogative.
weapon aesthetic is pretty cool.
I knew
The
you were
ancient
gonna
weapon
say
aesthetic is pretty sick. I would run that on the Valk 100.
Is it because it looks like a golem, Jay?
Just yeah, just having it as a boot. I love the golems. Maybe there's an Olin's golem costume I can get one day. Maybe.
If I see Jay walk up to me with this giant right arm, Jay, I'm not going to assume you've been grinding Olin's. If you catch my drift, okay.
It's the left arm that's big. Hello, what the heck?
In fairness, I got that right. In fairness, in that trivia game, I got that right. I nailed it. Blonde Bear had literally grinded it for like thousands of hours, and I, who was like 70 hours new to Olin's, was like, oh yeah, it's the left one. And Blonde was like, oh, I don't know. Oh my god. And yeah, I know. All right, so like realistically, where do they go next with like armors and weapons? We started touching on it. Jay gave his take on weapons. What do you think they do with armors at this point? Like that we've got all the way to like Tet, right? But like we're not getting pen armors at this point. Do we just say screw it, no more of this? We just add another gear roll wheel, and then we just add like 2 new continents and say, all right, on the new continent, the altar imp equivalent is like 470 DP required. Good luck.
I think what they're gonna do with progression forward in terms of both weapons and armor, if this is like the final upgrade, would be cups, like cup variants. So maybe you could specialize your chest piece to have more DR, you know, or to have more evasion, and then, you know, same thing for the helmet and you know, gloves. Maybe you could add more accuracy to your gloves or something like that. It would be like reform stone. Same thing for the weapons too. Maybe for the weapons you could have a cup that increases your main hand to give more monster AP, or to give more accuracy, or to give more whatever it is. Maybe BSR recovery on kill or something like that would be more interesting than just flat stats, you know. So
yeah, I think the next step probably is going to be some kind of reform for the weapons and armor. I don't see them releasing Ator's shoes and then releasing weapon. I think everybody would blow a gasket if they released weapons, to be honest. Do you guys feel that way?
I don't know, dude. Like I don't know where bro, BDO's in a good spot, but as someone that knows the game really well and like the development of the game, this has to be the most exciting Calpheon ball, mainly because I don't really know what you do now, right? We have been on this like this Black Star or like this Dead God like armor. Okay, yeah, we're gonna get the next Dead God thing. It's gonna be an expansion. You know, we've been in a rhythm, right, for a while now, and now I feel like we're at the end of that rhythm, and so like it's time to innovate. You know what I mean? It's time to see what they can do next. And I'll be honest with you, that artifact was kind of a scary step in the wrong direction, but I'm going to kind of overlook that for a moment, and I'm just going to say that I think that the Calpheon Ball that should be happening in probably December. Like, I think we're gonna find out there. I'm not really sure what it's gonna be. I would assume it's gonna be weapons first, because we got weapons. We got Black Star weapons, I think, before we got armors. Or like Dead God,
Yes.
didn't we?
Yes, you're correct. Yeah.
Okay,
We got
yeah,
Black Star
so-
weapons, and then after weapons came armor, and then when they released the chest piece, I think it was the same time that they released the flame. So
Yeah, so I think that we're gonna get something to do with weapons next. Jay, you think that they're gonna go in like into like an enchant? And keep in mind, I use the word enchant and not enhance. They are two different words. Enhance means upgrade your gear level. Enchant means like adding a Garmoth
like
heart to your Kutum. Right.
Yeah, like
so
a side progression. Well, we have seen them, like when you mentioned the word innovate, we have seen them try out like new like a really good example of something that we've never seen before that they tried to innovate on was the Tebek accessories, in this case just a Tebek belt. So it's not unheard of them to literally add abilities to tie to gear, and so maybe there might be a cup in the future that adds a brand new ability for your class or something like that, which would be really cool to see.
I think
no.
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 Excellent insight, Tilsis. Thank you so much for that. I think that I think they always add accessories with like expansions, new grind zones. It's really easy to add new accessories to the game and like give us options to like accessorize. But like the weapons, the fundamental core of the game, the weapons and the armor, I think that they have to come out with something new. And my hope, my copium beyond copium, is that they're gonna come out with the raid content that Jay would like very much, and then gate that content, gate the new like armor or gate the new weapons behind like doing really well in the raid, and then make it like an RNG drop from the raid or something. Now keep in mind, we've never had armor pieces and stuff be RNG drops from like chests and things at the end of raids. Kind of like the Destiny does this, World of Warcraft does this, and all the other stuff does this. And part of the reason that our rewards don't feel super meaningful is because we don't have those kind of big money drops. Like those that like getting an exotic drop at the end of a Destiny raid is like the biggest nut that you will experience as a gamer. I think that like a good potential direction for them to go in is to drop this new raid content, force high-end players to get together and coordinate. Right, you have to coordinate. You have to make friends and like go into this raid and like actually sweat. yeah, and actually sweat and like get this done. You know what I mean? And then like at the end of it, you have a chance to get the new like armor set or one of the new pieces of the armor set, right? And it's like a really low chop, so you have to do it, you know, potentially 3 to 5 times a week if you want to try to do it. I don't know. I think that that would be a good direction to go in. I think that there would be complaints about, oh, it's gated behind weekly. Like I don't think that you could make it gated behind weekly. I think you'd have to be able to like, I don't know, maybe you give the weekly reward 2 chests and then you can do it like 5 times in a week or something. I don't know if you wanted to. Right?
If they're not going to make it weekly gated, there needs to be a cost for doing it. I think RuneScape does the fight pits really well in this sense, where it's like the fight pits is kind of like it's a wave defense for those who've never played RuneScape.
We had that already.
No, but not wave defense. But what I'm saying is that you make each wave gets progressively harder. You go through 64 waves, and at round like 62 to 64, it's pretty difficult. But at those points, you've used up 1 million gold worth of resources by that point. So like it needs to cost something to get to the end of the raid, and if you wipe, tough, you know, like I'm totally fine with them not weekly gating it. I think I prefer that, but I think it needs to cost a resource to be able to attempt it again and again and again and again and again. Because there's a lot of excess crap in this game that we don't use, and that would be a great way to get rid of some of it. So
just make it hard enough that they have to use their consumables on it.
Yeah,
that'll vaporize everybody's silver.
Exactly. That's what RuneScape does. I mean, you burn through 1 million gold worth of consumables in like one fight pit. So,
yeah, I don't know, Jay. How do you feel about like putting it, like getting it behind? I mean, this is a totally different take. Keep in mind, this is very different, and I think this is something that we might get. Like the Calpheon Ball is probably going to be something big this year. I don't Because again, we were in a cycle for a really long time, and usually at the end of a cycle we get something big. One time it was Succession, right? The next time we got something big, it was like the class like reawakenings or whatever, like the reworks, right? And then we got like all of the dead god armors in succession to each other, and then like but like we're at the end of a cycle here, and it's time to innovate. Do you think that like this rate, like there's potential for the rate, or do you think they're going to go a different way with it? Because it's a totally different take on how to get loot.
Yeah, I don't know if they would want to do having the next piece of big progression be RNG, because for the most part all of our like gear that we've gotten so far, although there's like an RNG factor, if you just keep grinding, eventually you'll get it. Like the flames, right? Eventually you'll get 100 embers, and then you'll get the flame, and then make your shoes and stuff like that. Yeah. And so I have a feeling
give it a pity system.
Keep going. Yeah, that's what I mean, is that if we're going your route, then they'll probably add some sort of pity system, maybe like every week. Let's say you don't get your piece, then you would get a pity piece of it or something like that. And then if you just keep doing the weekly raid clear you'll eventually get it after a certain amount of time. And so maybe that's gonna be the way to do it, and we'll see.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. If you get like if you don't get the drop, you get like a coin, you get 10 coins, you get to cash in for one of the pieces. So that's cool with me. I'm totally fine with something like that. I think that would be sick, because I love that kind of content. I think it's good for the game to get a bunch of players together and just like, all right, this is super in-game, super skill-based. Like, you gotta use your consumables, you gotta do, pull out all the stops. It's like going to Siege or something like that. But for PvE, that would be huge. And it would be way better than enhancing.
Yeah.
well, you'll probably still have to enhance it.
No,
what?
No, don't say that. Just let it be. Just let it be.
Hey, why would you put that idea in there? No, I've got an idea. I just had a thought. What if we had this item that everyone had to put into their, like, each piece of their armor, and I don't know, we can make it look like a black Easter egg, and every single person on the server had to get like 80,000 of these and put them in all of their gear, and then Stop. Bro, Conference was the worst. Bro, that was one of the pivoting. No joke. That was like their first pivot point, right? Like before Dead God, they had to get off of Conference because they messed up so bad. Do you guys remember? Like remember they had pens, then they introduced the idea of Conference, then they introduced Dead God, and they were like, all right, we'll stop it at C10 because like this was a bad idea. This whole idea that everyone needs like 30 to 50,000 Conference was stupid, and we admit it, right? And then like they pivoted super hard. We don't want another Conference situation. We want something reasonable, right?
Yep.
Would you?
I just want loot. That's what I want.
Would you rather see something like a class like rework or addition to your class, or would you rather see like armor and weapon progression? Like, would you rather see a new set of Black Star weapons specific to your class, or whatever, like the new endgame weapons or new endgame armors, or would you rather see another branch of like Succession Awakening this, right? Like a third tree, or like a rework of the passives like we got, or like the rework of the passives that we got.
I want class changes above everything.
Both. Can I have both?
Shut up, Jay. You have to pick one, Jay.
Both, but
no.
Yeah, I would take class changes 110% over everything else in this game right now. I feel like there's a lot of things that don't lend itself to individuality in this game. And anything that could help that to where it feels like you're playing a unique version of your class would be huge. So I'm all down for class changes. Good class changes, not the class reworks that we got a year ago.
I actually thought the class reworks were good though. Well, at least for my class. Fuck you guys.
Well, yeah.
I like the witch. The witch made them. It made witch like really interesting. And by interesting, I mean like super way easier. They basically just giga loaded Fisher Wave and then said, "All right, good luck." They like make sure you take your pet out. Use Fisher Wave every 2.5 seconds. All right, you're good to go. Enjoy that. All right, Jay, what do you think? Would you rather see like class rework / class like addition, or like class passive rework, or would you rather see like the new weapons, or the new armor. So you're an end game player. So like,
I did say both, but I'll probably lean more towards the class, specific stuff, because I would love it if I could spec my class for, different situations, whether it be more towards support, more towards offense, more towards defensive. Right. I think it would make a lot more make the game a lot more interesting. Of course, that would probably be like a balancing nightmare, but we'll
all I'm gonna say is whenever we say it's a balancing nightmare, it is not our responsibility as the players to imagine what the balancing is. Right. That is the devs' issue. Okay, we're the players. We want what we want. The devs give it to us. That's how it should work. I think I've preached on this soapbox before. Just crunch everything down, make it easier to balance stuff, and then give us good changes. Everybody would be happy.
Oh, it's just that simple. Honestly, you just turned the Korean advice back on the Koreans. Just give us good changes. Why didn't I think of that?
That's all we should. What? That's it. That's for players.
That's
like,
Tiltus with the game-winning ideas.
Player, not the developer. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, we will touch on this other topic. The Jay. I mean, every week we're like, man, do we have enough stuff? I don't know. We'll find out. And then 50 minutes go by, and we're like, okay, we should probably get to the second topic. So we did talk on the dungeon a little bit, but there was that forum post that brought up that does not like these one-shot mechanics in raids and dungeons, or I guess in our case, though, we call it a dungeon, but it kind of feels like a raid. Right. So like, I'm curious, Jay, as like the king dungeoneer on the server, what your take is on this. But like, let's ask Tiltus first, and then we'll rotate down to King Jay on the dungeon. But how do you like one-shot mechanics still?
I talked about this a little bit a couple of weeks ago. I like one-shot mechanics as long as it's not like every single attack is a one-shot mechanic. I really like DPS checks, because it is like, all right, this is your time to know your class inside and out. You have to pump out the most amount of damage that you can and break this threshold. If you don't, you will lose, because that is something I can get better at. I can get better at doing more damage. I can know my rotations better. RNG one-shot mechanics I don't like the fish, the glowing fish in the second raid, where you have to pick out the one glowing fish out of like the 8, and it's like, which fish is it going to be? And it only like flashes for like a second, and then you have to go, you're like, did anybody see which one it?
Yeah,
I know they made it a lot better.
Blue?
Like,
and I'm like over here having a
have
seizure.
that memory burned into my brain for doing it for the first time. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that, it sucks. But like things that I personally can get better at to avoid the one-shot mechanic, I'm a huge Dark Souls player, and a lot of Dark Souls bosses will just clap you if you fuck up. There is there's no mercy there. You have to get better. I like those kind of one-shot mechanics where it's like, I have to be better. Once I'm better, I will be able to pass this every single time. Gumiho's DPS check is a great example of that. The first time you fail it, you're like, man, I messed that up. I can do better, so I like stuff like that. The flip side of that is like the second dungeon boss. It was a nightmare when I did it the first time, because it was like every other attack is a one-shot mechanic. So I get where this person is coming from, but I think there are correct ways to do one-shot mechanics, and as long as it is on a individual skill level of something I can get better at, they're good. If they're on an RNG basis, they're bad.
I think.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that they're fun. I think they're probably important to, like, if you fuck up this badly, that you should probably wipe, or you should wipe. You know what I mean? Like. But yeah, no, RNG mechanics shouldn't exist. But I think that if you fuck up the mechanic hard enough, I think that white mechanics are fine. You know what I mean?
So this person,
Jay, go ahead.
This person on the forum post expressed the concern over one-shot mechanics because they were playing a slower class and they also had a higher ping. But I'm also somebody who also played a slower class for the last 5 years, an Awakening Witch. And so I really like when Tiltus was mentioning like the Dark Souls mechanic, the Dark Souls ideology and stuff about getting better and stuff. for me, it's literally the same thing, but for Monster Hunter, because I take from Monster Hunter a lot.
Exactly.
Where it's the same thing. Where if you have to commit to these animations, because in Monster Hunter everything's like kind of like clunky in a way, but it's intentional that it's clunky in that way, so that when you do understand what your limitations are and the potential you have as a player for that weapon or for that class or for whatever it is, and you can sort of learn the behaviors of the monsters, in this case the bosses, and know the mechanics properly and able to overcome that, I think that really makes you a better player in that way. Like for me, when I was doing boss splits for the first time, my first week, it took me hours and hours and hours. Gumiho took me, it was like a 4 or 5 hour trek.
Yeah, we raced.
Beat her on C7.
Yeah.
I raced too.
So
straight to my bed and slept while you guys
Jay
did
and I
that
were
content.
racing at one point. Like it was fun.
And nowadays for like weeklies, I usually just 1-2 shot these bosses now, because I just know, like, hey, Gumiho's a certain distance far away from me, in which case, like, there's a couple animations that she'll most likely do, which is the barrel roll attack towards you, like the jet, or she'll like jump on top of you and do like her fire aura circular AoE if you're far enough. And so like you just know there are even some situations where one of my guildies, Ludi, was telling me that if you can bait a certain animation from Gumiho to always have really good animations for her. I think it was like if you're far enough, she does this animation where she puts her tail in front of her face and then she tries to heal, and you can stun her out of that, and you can keep baiting that. And that's I'm pretty sure that's what he was doing, because he was getting some amazing clear, like 7-minute clear times on C7, and my clear times are like 10 minutes. And so
He's
if
so
you just
mad with you
know
right now.
Yeah.
So
was I
mad.
not supposed to reveal? Was I not supposed
You
to?
just gave away his tech right there.
Oops.
Holy
That's how Dark Souls bosses are too. It's like you learn the animations and the mechanics of what the boss is doing, and then you figure out a way to exploit them, because we're gamers and we like to, punish the development system that, has been given to us. So I don't mind one-shot mechanics at all. My favorite, the best raid experience I have with one-shot mechanics is, we talk about Destiny a lot because BDO shares some design philosophies with Destiny. Doing Vault of Glass for the first time was one of the coolest experiences ever, because a lot of its mechanics
I need it in BDO, bro. I need
a lot of the mechanics for Vault of Glass were one-shot mechanics, but they were like doable from the player's perspective. You have to learn what it is that you need to do, and then you do it, and then you pass it. It's not RNG,
Your heart's racing the whole time, and you're like, oh my god, everybody get in position. Oh, I need to jump. Okay, all right, and then your turn, you're shooting that, like, oh my gosh, dude, like all
and
of those mechanics are so
two
juicy.
players get sucked into different dimensions, and then they have to do their own thing, and if they fail in there, then the party gets, wiped, and you start over again. Like, that's cool because that's an individual. It can be toxic, but that's cool because it's like when you're with your friends, you're like, okay, dude, you gotta pull it together. You got it this time for sure, right? Like those kind of things, and I like those kind of mechanics. So I don't think one shots are bad.
Yeah,
I think done correctly, they're really fun.
I think. Okay, so actually, I'm curious. Yeah, I think that one shot mechanics are fine as long as they're not just like RNG. But however, Jay, when you say you want raids, somebody in my chat very aptly pointed out that most of the time when you talk about raids in MMOs, you're talking about like 10 or more people. How many people do you think should be involved in like an ideal raid situation for you?
Ideal raid and BDO. Trying to think.
Because see, then like if you include enough people, I feel like then it's like, okay, you have to have like a mystic or a striker to do this mechanic, right? But like you know, if you require 10 or 20 people to be in the thing, then okay, we need to have a mystic, we need to have a shy, we need to have a DK, we need to have, we need to have this, that, like a wizard or a witch, like how many do you think would you like to see?
I think between like 10 or 15 people is what I'm thinking in terms of raids, because party dungeon's 5, so it should be more than 5, but not too many, because I think in World of Warcraft it used to be like 30 or something, and that's a lot of people.
Oh, dude, 20 would be so cool. Like shot calling, between a 20-man raid would be the best content that I might ever Yeah, I might
essentially.
ever create is if they dump like a 20-man raid on us, and like I have to shot call people in the raid for PvE content. Oh my god, that would be so juiced. You know what I mean? That would be sick.
My very first instinct thought was a platoon for raids, just a full 20. And then I think there's nothing wrong with like requiring certain classes to be involved in the raid either. Like you're gonna want a shy or two. You're gonna want witch wizards. You're gonna want potentially Valks. I mean, there's all sorts of like little niches that these classes can actually have in group content that would be even more pronounced, I think, in PvE more than they are in PvP. So I think there's a huge opportunity for that. I like the idea of dungeons being 5-man. You know, you get your party, you get a small group together, and you go run your dungeons, and then you go to do raids, and it's okay. I gotta collect 20 people.
Right.
All right, everybody, on this day we're doing this thing. You know.
Yeah. Right.
And
then
it'd be sick.
somebody asked, "Are we talking about guild bosses?" Oh, my sweet summer child. No, those are loot loot pinatas. No, the guild bosses are good to do. You know, you get like decent rewards from them, but like, there's no mechanics for those, right? Like, oh, dodge the red circle. You know.
I was gonna say, definitely choosing the right amount of people is going to be very, very important for them designing it around that many people, right? Because when we look at the dungeons, they're specifically designed for 5 people. Like all the mechanics, like, oh, you need to send one person here, one person there, one person here. And for the raids, I think it's really important that they choose a proper amount of people. I think less is better than more. Like I kind of think maybe 20 might be a little bit difficult to coordinate, but maybe because if they do 20, they have to keep this. I think they got to keep designing the raids as 20 man. And then same thing for like if they start with 10, they're probably gonna have to keep going with 10, because if they like switch around, like, oh, you need 10 people for this raid, 15 people for that raid, it's gonna be hard for design design ideologies and stuff. So
okay, 10, fine. I'll take 10. I'll take 10.
I don't think it would
I'll
be
settle for
that
10.
bad. I think World of Warcraft has a lot more experience doing it, but World of Warcraft does pull off, different levels of raids.
It has like a very different, what's it called? It has like the Trinity system, right? The healer, tank, DPS.
Right.
So they clearly have those. It's like they have that sort of structure to go off of, but BDO is very different, and that's why I think it like 20 might not work as well as World of Warcraft does it. Because of the sort of more action-based combat that BDO does, and so maybe it might be closer to, Lost Ark's situation where one of my chat members said it was 8 for a raid, if I'm not mistaken, and so maybe for BDO it might be better for a lower amount of people for raids to accommodate the sort of how BDO does it in terms of their combat. So.
Yeah, I mean 10 would be fine too. I mean,
I'd be okay with 10. Yeah, I think it's more balanceable for sure.
Yeah, I think it needs to be more than dungeons. But I agree. I mean, any group that requires me to grab 10 people is like, that's already a big commitment anyways. So, but I think it would be really neat to bring more than 10 people or something like that. I think if they started with 10, I'd be happy. I think in BDO's lifespan, I would want to see a 20 man at some point though get dropped. If we're getting raids, if we're getting good PvE content, that kind of stuff, like that would be huge. I think that's a perfect like step for BDO to take with the ending of the slumbering origin armor. Is like, all right, we've got all of our end gear stuff. All right, what's the next step? All right, let's do these mega geared raids that you have to go through the rest of the game to get to, and now you're here, and now you can do this super end game content. So I'm down for it. I think it'd be cool. I want raids. Gimme.
I'm desperately hoping that that's the next content. All right, so we're very close to the end here. I want you to give me at the Calpheon Ball, which should be in 2 months. Like we should have teasers at least and stuff for it. What you are most like? Okay, you think that this is what we're gonna get, and this is what you're most excited for. Okay, that's the one thing I want, and then give me your outro. Okay, Jay, why don't you go first?
Oh shoot. I want Raids. My name is Jakin VT for the T. I'm an awakening Wusa main with 760 gear score. I'm always happy to answer questions about the game, and you can always find me at twitch.tv/JakinVTV before the T.
I thought for sure Jay was going to be more golems. We want more golems.
More golems.
Tiltus, what do you want to see the most?
I want to see. Honestly, I'm kind of hung up on the idea of a raid now, so I'm gonna agree. I want to see.
Stealing my answer.
I want to see raids with in-game progression locked behind doing the raid. I think that would be sick, and it would be a good step for BDO, especially to get away from this enhancing system that we all so endearingly love. But I'm Tiltus TV. I am a awakening Dark Knight main. I've been playing the game for almost 8 years now. I play a lot of Dark Souls and do armored MMA. So yeah.
Right on. And I'm gonna deviate a little bit because I don't want to be the same as the other girls. Okay.
He's different, like the other
I'm different.
co-hosts.
Yeah. I wear black nail polish. Not really though. I wear red Crocs. I want shot calling PvE group PvE content.
Oh.
Jay's
So
like,
raids.
so raids. No, I did not say raids. You said raids. He said raids. I'm different. I'm edgy. I'm not like the other girls.
Thank you.
I want shot called PvE content. It could be PvE Node Wars. It could be PvE VX content like Gambit was, or like the Thornwood Castle or whatever it was supposed to be. Or it could be raids, right? It could be like a siege, like a PvE, like siege mode. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I would like shot callable group PvE content, like cooperative.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired of playing against other players. If I'm being honest, I'm getting too old for this shit. I want to play. I want to play with other players against bots. That's what I want to do. Really hard bots. Okay, I don't like. I'm tired of making enemies in the game because we're all fighting each other all the time. I'm tired of it, I want to fight the computer now. All right, and I am Blue Squadron. There's always new stuff going on my channel. Right after this, we're gonna do some VOD review reacts, just like the old days. It's gonna be Newbie Tuesday with a nice brand new T1 VOD review.
And then if they add raids, you could do a VOD review of the raids.
Oh,
That's
Jay.
content gold.
Oh,
man.
Jesus, Jay.
This person should be standing over.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, God.
Boy,
I would
squiggly doodle drawer.
I would clean
See
up.
this person right here? They need to be standing over there.
Pause, enhance that, make it nice and big.
Who's
Like,
standing over there?
yeah, who the fuck is that? What is he doing, bro? I said, there's Jay jumping in the air, desperately trying to get over to his position. Like, it'd be so good. It'd be so good. But yeah, from all of us here at the Old Moon Podcast, we absolutely hope that you have a great rest of your week.